So the two people that are on with me so far is Rae, which is the topic of tonight, who we are trying to save very desperately. She's currently in Grenada um, with an imminent danger of her son being taken from her and her possibly put into prison. And I don't know if Rae, you want to say anything, introduce yourself.
Yeah, sorry guys, I can't get this video situation to work. But you can see obviously what I look like in all the videos that have been surrounding today. But I live now in the Caribbean, the West Indies, which is, if you're not which no one's ever heard of Grenada, and I didn't even hear about it until I fled here. But it's one of the only like non-Hague countries still that is pretty in close proximity to the States. And I think, just really briefly, I think when people hear like someone fled, that it was really quick and it was just, you just drop your bags and go. And that's not the case for a lot of us, and that wasn't the case for me. This was a lot of years of trying to figure out how to keep my son and myself safe. And after exhausting every legal avenue, every judicial avenue, there was no other avenue. So after months of Google searches, and there was a time where it was about 4 weeks where we were ordered to share our son, to where it would be a week at a time where we wouldn't see each other. I wasn't able to speak with him. And literally the only thing that kept me from killing myself was just inundating myself with information that just gave me a little bit of hope. Like, can I do this? And let me look at all the options of how to get out of here. And for weeks, I just was on the computer looking at every law, every Google search, everything, and every back way, and every this and every that, and until we finally did it. And at the time, I had full conservatorship and rights over the passport, and I didn't need any consent in that way. I've raised my son by myself since he was born. And so on Mother's Day last year, 2022, we got on a plane with 4 suitcases, and I sold my car and walked away from my house and my family. And we got here, and I had no idea what we were going to do, but we did it. And my kid is super just awesome, obviously, like all of our kids are. But, I just kind of positioned this as an adventure. And he knew that he was going to be safe because of the distance. And so we just did it. We figured it out. We made a life here until we were found, which is everyone's nightmare, but not something that I didn't think was going to happen, knowing that we used our real passports and we booked flights in our real names and all of that. And so when we were found, we were kind of, it was very jarring. Obviously, it's always jarring. It's always screaming and kids crying and ripping children away from you and police and all of this kind of stuff. And luckily, that was not the case for me in regards to having my child ripped out of my arms at that moment. But since then, we've just been followed and harassed, and the U.S. ambassador sends people to try to pick us up in their cars, and just a whole tirade of harassment and terror and people photographing us, and it's a nightmare. And so we're in litigation, and my lawyers have fired me. And in the last week, I have lost my job that I had for many years. My legal counsel fired me. I can't find another lawyer to take me on. My father had a massive stroke, is in the hospital. And I have a court date on June 13th where the courts will decide to send my son back to the States. And if I go, I'll be arrested and put in prison. And then my son will go with his father. And so, sorry for that very long introduction, but that's just kind of where we are.
Oh my God. It's so scary. It's just like, if anyone hears that story, you just think like, what are you talking about? Like, it's never going to be that way. Like, you obviously fled because he abused you. There's a reason why you fled. It's not like you just left for shits and giggles. Like, you exhausted every single avenue, like you said, and like all of us did. Like, thought of literally everything before you were so desperate and terrified that you had to flee an entire country. And
You know
then
what
you're met with the Hague. And then it's not even a Hague country, and it's like almost like you're getting Hagued.
It's interesting that you say that, because in a lot of my research, I was particular in coming somewhere that did not have a judicial process of return. And unfortunately, it would work in my benefit. And unfortunately, it's not, because now, because there's no process of return, they're being guided by lawyers who have only worked with Hague cases. There's a lot of interior jurisdictional corruption, of course, going on. But really what I've learned, and what any Google search will tell you about international law, is there's jurisdictions for a reason. Like, the USA is not allowed to say shit in a Grenada court, just like a Grenada court is not allowed to say shit in the USA. But that process is not followed here. And the USA is a very powerful, obviously, country, with being a very top contributor of money and tourism and employment here as well. And to your point, like, I think when we go into motherhood, we don't think of anything other than raising kids with your partner. And when that doesn't happen and it becomes unbearable or unsafe, we do what we have to do. We didn't choose this. None of us chose this. None of us chose to live this life with no breaks and high stress and doing everything alone and being financially drained. Like, none of us would choose this. We do this because it's our primal nature to protect our kids. But in a perfect world, I think all of us would prefer to raise children with partners that are safe and warm. We're not out there brainwashing our kids and stealing our kids like they think we are. We're not. And if anyone has ever raised a child, you know that you can't brainwash them. You can't. I can't get my kid to take a fucking shower. There's no way that I would be able to brainwash him.
I feel that.
I've often thought that too. I really, being a single mum is tough. I don't think people do that really out of choice, and people tend to go into relationships with the best of intentions, with in good faith. And the idea that people are evilly, sort of taking their children, and what you were talking about, to keep them from the other partner, and what you were talking about as well, Rae. I feel so much what you're going through, because I went through it just 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And it is just absolutely mad that there is no safe place. And the process that you described to me, it literally was the last resort. When you're backed into a corner, you have nowhere else to go, because the legal systems in the countries that we're in, whether they're our own countries or other countries, as in my case, are not protecting us. If they would protect us, and the law says that they must, we would not need to do this. And you're absolutely right, Ray. You know, packing your life into a suitcase and preparing not to see places and people again, maybe ever, that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
Horrific.
And in our case, we went into an asylum seeker centre. Now, that's practically volunteering for kind of living in semi-prison conditions. But that was the last option left for me and my children, to stop them being unlawfully taken from my care. It is unlawful. We've got a situation right now where, you know, the emperor has no clothes. You know, we can read the law, we can read these judgments, and nobody can kid us that these judgments are lawful. They're not. We don't need a court to tell us if something's lawful or not. We can compare the facts with the law and see for ourselves that, you know, we're not stupid. And what we're doing is we're doing our duty to protect our children. Sorry for the rant there. And how can
No,
it be?
this is not a rant at all. Both of you keep talking. Like, this is what we're here for.
Everybody else from the outside world, like when, you know, the first time I came back to my own country, that my children were taken from initially, and the only reason why I couldn't bring them back was because of corruption. And Ray has mentioned corruption, and yeah, it's absolutely obvious we have got a serious problem with corruption in our judicial systems, and I think we're feeling it really keenly in family law, but it's also present in other parts of the justice system in most countries. And we used to believe that we had fine justice systems. We were proud of them. But unfortunately, right now, we've got corruption in most countries, in most parts of public life. And I think that the fact that what we're going through is so shocking to most people from normal walks of life, you know, family, friends, people who are professional people, who are rational people, reasonable people. Just like, I cannot believe what I'm hearing. I cannot believe that a judge would do something like this. And forget the mothers, it's the children. I've seen the videos of what happened to Ray's son. That is a child who's been physically harmed. And unfortunately, we've got a situation where we know that the American courts are taking jurisdiction where they have none. Because I know about cases in the United Kingdom and in other countries where American courts are going, well, hey, we're going to just make a decision without the participation or knowledge of the mother, unilaterally, and they have no right to do that. And the courts in the other countries are just going, oh well, nothing we can
out
do.
of sight, out of mind.
The thing too, Nat, to your point, both Nats, you know, I think none of us know, you know, when you say to someone what you're going through and they go, oh my gosh. I mean, I think the advice I got the most, still yesterday, I even had a police officer say, you need legal counsel. Like, that's the advice that everybody gives you. Call CPS, call the police, you need a lawyer. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not asking you to, I'm not begging you to put me in the bottom of your boat and take me to another country if I haven't sought fucking legal counsel already. Like, I'm at the end. I've done all of this. I've done it. And what's happening is that people are like, well, I don't understand. You can't just show a judge that your son had internal bleeding and was bruised, or that you were, you know, show the video, show the this. But what people don't understand is that, one, sometimes the judges can say they don't want to see all of that. Two, you, especially in the United States, cannot be the one that discloses the abuse, which is crazy to me because I'm the safest person for my child to disclose the abuse to. But then I can't tell anyone about it. So now You have to pray that you can put your son in therapy. At least this was my life. I remember this was my life, thinking, I don't want to coach my child, but I need to tell him that he needs to tell his doctor X, Y, and Z, or he needs to tell his therapist X, Y, and Z. And then I somehow have to tell the therapist to make a report without asking the therapist to make a report, because God forbid anything comes from me. And even in the courtroom, my son wrote a letter to his teacher that said, I'm scared of my dad. The teacher never reported it. My son's therapist, my son's pediatrician, they testified in court, and the judge looked at them and said, well, who hired you? Who's bringing him to the appointments? Mom. Well, isn't that a little suspicious? Well, no, it's not suspicious, because the mother is raising the child and we've developed a relationship and she brings him all the time. Well, you're no longer allowed to see.
Would say, look at this unsafe mother. She's not protecting her child.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
If you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I sat in the courtroom, and this was in it was my birthday. I was in court on my birthday for 4 days before the judge made her ruling. One, she didn't want to hear anything about the guns, the alcohol, the abuse, nothing. All she wanted to hear about was that, in what capacity was mom taking over this child's life, which is, there's a difference. Well, maybe there's not a difference, but it doesn't matter. I've raised this kid since birth, so I had to take over his life, period, end of story. I'm up in it all the time. I'm all of these things. But I remember so specifically when she said, and the only person that this is going to hurt is your son, but we have to do it. And I am ordering him to go 1 week with his dad and 1 week with you, and we're going to try that temporarily. And Rachel, if you as much as send your child a note, a lunch note, if you go to his school, if I hear of 1 ounce of contact that you have with your child, you will lose him forever. And I was paralyzed. I was petrified. And before I left, I found her address, her mailing address, because I know that she has 2 boys. And I sent her a letter with a picture of me and my son. And I just sent her a letter that said, as a mother, how could you do this? I hope that nobody hurts your kids and that you can't protect them. I hope that you're never in this position. And I sent her that letter. And we left, and things kind of transpired, obviously. And I was fined $10,000 for ex parte communication to the judge. And that letter and that picture were placed on blast in our court filings and affidavit, and has since been used against me as a way that Rachel doesn't follow judicial process. And look at the balls she has to just reach out to a judge and communicate ex parte, and who does she think she is, and all of these different things. So again, just so many times the FBI or the Child Protective Services would come to talk to my child, and he would ask them, if I tell you what happened, am I going to have to see my dad again? They would say, probably. And so he would say, well, I'm not going to tell you what happened. And then I would say, but he told me what happened, so let me tell you what happened. And then they would go back in their reports and say, child did not disclose abuse. Mom wanted to tell her side of the story. That was it. And so, it was a lot of that. And I just think the testimony is not even in my story. Like, nobody even has to hear me talk. Anyone that knew my child last year versus this year would be able to tell you he's a completely different kid. Completely different. He's fun and joyful and free. And, I don't think people think that kids can get depression or anxiety when they're 6 and 7 years old, but they can. And in some ways it's shown. I remember my son would come home from a visit with his father, and these are the visits that his dad would say, do you want to look at my gun collection? I'm gonna show you the one I'm gonna kill your mom with. But you can't tell her any of this stuff or else I'm gonna do it. And he would come home and tell me that stuff, and then he would play video games for hours. And I would just lay in his bed with him. He was on the beanbag chair, and that was just like, I was like, I'm here, we don't have to talk. I just want to be in the same room as you, and you can play video games, and you want to drink a milkshake or eat Cheetos or whatever, fine. Whatever your body is telling you that you need to cope, then let's do it. And now it's like my kid wakes up in the morning singing the Little Mermaid songs and dancing in his underwear and cooking breakfast. And when we're walking down the street on this like remote island, he's like, hey everyone, hope you have such a good day. See you later. It's a remarkable kid. But I think that the testimony really is that when you give your children freedom and safety, they become who they're supposed to be. And when you take that away from them, it's almost worse than the physical abuse. It's horrifying.
Yeah. I know. I mean, oh my God. I'm a little speechless after that. I'm like so heartbroken. I can, I'm like, I can relate so much to that because I fled almost 2 years ago now. And if you would have seen my kids last year, they were completely different kids. Like my older son, the 5-year-old, would come up to me and be like, Mommy, you're useless. And acting up all the time, screaming at me and just talking to me the way that he seen his dad speak to me. Because that's all he knew. It was normal. And now it's like you said about your son saying, Hi guys, I hope you have a great day. Like we'll be in a restaurant and he'll go up to like every table and be like, I hope you guys have a really good night tonight. And it's like,
Yes.
oh, you're just like the
Yes.
sweetest boy now. And
Right.
it's just the difference. It's night and day. Like in abuse and then free from it is just, there's no comparison.
Right.
You know, I think it's quite important to understand what is the ideological undercurrent here. And I've been sort of reading a little bit and researching. It is an actual hatred of single mothers and a belief that single mothers lead to the downfall of society. I'm talking, well, there's a book by Martha Albertson Finneman, which I forget the name of. There's a chapter called Mother about the rise of the notion. I think it was somewhere in the 70s, 80s when the sort of awareness started to come up that maybe women were able to leave relationships a bit too easily. And in the United Kingdom, we've got people who are embedded deeply into the structures that, create policy in the state, who have written newspaper articles, talking about how, you'll find the same belief system, I think, among lots of the fathers' rights extremists, saying that it's single parent, families, mothers, single mothers who are the cause of violence in society. Now, I don't see how the stories you two have been telling fit with that image. I think it's rather the frustrated child, the unsafe child, the traumatized child who is going to be having behavioral problems, who's going to get mixed up in crime. I think people really, really, it's astonishing, that people can be harboring these attitudes, but I think we need to understand what we're dealing with.
Well, I think someone said it in the comments, and I think it's safe to say, especially being involved with women globally, but the US is not a safe place for women. And the world is not a safe place for women, but the states specifically, in the last decade or so with the Donald Trump movement, if you will, that was just so full of vitriol and women and minorities and are inferior and are this and are that. And, I know that my son's father is a very Texas, good old boy, guns, you need to act right, be quiet, shut up. There were times in our relationship, even before child, where I had a cell phone smashed into my face when I was pregnant, and it was just a nightmare. And women are to be property, and it sounds so backwoods, right? Especially, I grew up in very liberal West East Coast homes, and so when I'm brought to the center of the states, it was a totally different world. But again, I think the biggest point to drive home is that we think that Child Protective Services and judges and police are going to help us. I have one story, and I'm going to have to sign off in a moment. I have not slept for like 4 days. And I think that's just important to share, because the terror of this goes beyond being physically abused. That's the thing, is that when they can't physically hit you anymore, they abuse you in other ways, financially, legally. I'm coming up on a court date where the option that I once had to run when I was in the States, I don't have that option here. It's impossible. They have our passports. They have someone watching us. They have, it's different. But years ago, my son was on a court-ordered visit. It was unsupervised for a couple hours, but and I had asked his dad on this app we were talking on, how would you like me to handle the antibiotics? Bring them and put them in the cooler outside my house. Got it. Walking up the stairs, my son sees me walking up the stairs, flings open the door. Mommy, I hate it here. I'm not safe. Please take me home. I want to leave with you. I said, okay, you can leave with me. His father storms out, charging, camera, cell phone in my face. Get the fuck out of here, screaming at me. My son is crying. He calls the police. And I said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving until I know our son is safe. And he goes to slam the door, and I put my foot in the door, and he slams and crushes my knee. And so the police are on their way, and I'm not leaving, but I hobbled down the stairs, and I said, fine, I'll talk to the police. I want them to know what's going on and make sure my son's okay. First and foremost, the moment the police showed up, I was accused of faking my injury. When I had said, it's on video, he videotaped it, so why don't you go up there and ask him to show you the video? But the first thing I was accused of was faking this knee injury, that the door was just slammed on my face, on my knee. And then I showed them the text thread. They said, why are you here? This is father's time. Why are you here? Well, here's a text thread. I'm dropping off antibiotics. My son's not safe. They did not look at the history, which there had been history of restraining order and domestic abuse, that's supposed to be their protocol, is when called to a civil or domestic, they look at the history. Didn't do that. I said, I'm not leaving until I know my son is safe. Officer goes upstairs again, like young 25-year-old, good old boy, and walks upstairs, and I watch him. He does not even go into the apartment, and comes back down and says, your son's fine. And I said, well, how do you know that? And he goes, well, even if I didn't know that, I'm telling you right now, it's good for little boys to be scared of their dads. You're raising a pussy if you think otherwise. This police officer, and I sat there in shock. And not only did I take down his badge number and file an investigative whatever with the internal affairs and blah, 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 but guess what? Again, denied. We looked at the body cam footage. We didn't see that our officers did anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. And it was that night that I was almost arrested for trespassing. They said, if you come back or you don't leave right now, we're going to arrest you for trespassing. Me, trying to help my kid, previous documented abuse. My child is screaming. I have a door slammed on my knee, but I'm the one that's going to get arrested for trespassing. So again, it's not one singular incident. It's a collaboration of years of endless outcries and desperation for these government agencies and systems that are meant to protect us, to protect me, and none of them would or could. So I left because there's nothing else to do. Nobody will touch or hurt my child again. Nobody over my dead body. Kill me. You have to kill me first. You're going to have to kill me first. And there's not a mother that I know that would think any differently. Anyone that I tell my story to, they go, hell yeah, I would have done the same thing. I would have done the same thing.
You know what, Ray? That's what I did. And I didn't succeed, but at least my kids know that I stood up for them.
Yes,
And I was
and they
prepared
always
to
will.
fight it to the bitter end. Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, is that, watching that video, Nat, and I know that this video was kind of surrounded around me right now, but those that are watching, that are all connected in this way just because we're supporting one another. And Nat shared a video of her children being forcibly taken from her home after she was amidst seeking asylum. Again, so much judicial corruption and working against the law, and in all these ways that we think that the law is going to protect us. And then what happens is that we are hunted and we are criminalized, and I can't go back to the United States. My father is 86. He was just here with me for the month, thank God, but he had a massive stroke and he's in the hospital. And I can't go back to the States, and actually to have my parents say to me, if we die, do not come back here. We understand. We love you. Do not come back here. Do not risk it. Do not get arrested. Do not come back here. You take your baby and you stay safe. But to hear that from my parents, who I'm extremely close with, is debilitating. But it's another layer of the control and the abuse, is that I cannot go home. I can't go home. I have a felony warrant out for my arrest. I can't go home. I will go to jail.
It's the same for many mothers, exactly. So many mothers and children have not had the chance to say goodbye to family members who've passed away because they've been stuck. And the amount of stress that this causes people to become ill, causes them to have strokes, heart attacks, develop cancers, and it causes them to commit suicide. It's just the maddest thing what's happening. Sometimes it feels like being in an actual nightmare, a living nightmare. You cannot believe that this is reality.
Right. Mm-hmm. Hey, Nat, I don't know if you're seeing the comments, but Maureen, there's a couple people that still need to be added. I think you might have to do that manually. I'm not sure.
Just one thing I wanted to say as well, that's somebody commented about asylum. I took my children to seek asylum for them, and I know the legal background. They had the right, and I had the right to seek asylum. So we go to this asylum centre, and the Swiss authorities, I also saw a comment saying, oh, UK, US are the worst, Australia, New Zealand. No, they're not, because I've been in Croatia and it's an absolute nightmare there. And there are British experts who have been training the entire Croatian system in all of this stuff. And they are very proud of themselves, how fully the Croatian professionals have embodied all of this and are inflicting it on mothers, on children, also on fathers. I know some fathers, the criterion seems the safe parent is the one who is targeted.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, I did a survey back in December. The stories that came out of Poland, I think I had about 150 responses to this survey. This was not about Hague, it was about family courts in general. I got about 44 responses just from Poland. and it made my blood run cold. It is so monstrous what they're doing to mothers and children. And so we arrived at this asylum centre, and if we had been anybody else except for a mother and children coming from a safe country, we would have had a chance to seek asylum. But they see, because we're from a safe country,
Right.
that we have no right. But there is nothing written down in any law anywhere that says, oh, there's this list of countries you're not allowed to seek asylum from. No, that's rubbish. You know, they have to do it on a case-by-case basis. And I don't know about you, but with all of this going on that we're sharing amongst ourselves, the countries we're describing are not safe for mothers and children. They're certainly not, because they're getting killed.
Well, and the fact is that there's, I remember sitting in my lawyer's office here, and she was like, I can't understand, like, I don't understand. And I'm like, I know, welcome to the club. Like, you can't understand unless you've lived it, because, and at the time I had much more faith in the legal system here than I do now. But, she was like, we follow the rules here, and this would never fly but the problem is that we're Americans. This is an American child. This is not a Grenadian child. This is an American child. And so even though we've established habitual residence, even though we've established and met the parameters of settlement of the child, grave and emotional danger, all of those things, they're still so reluctant to understand. Well, I don't understand why. You just go one more time, go back to the States, hire another lawyer, try again, do this, do that. And there are some countries like this one, they don't offer asylum. This country has never heard of a case like mine, that nobody knows what the fuck to do. Nobody knows, there's no judicial process, no one knows what to do here. And there's no asylum. So when I got here, it was recommended to me, try to file for asylum, go to a refugee office, go to a domestic violence shelter. Those don't exist here. And so when you go on the UNHCR website, they have like a catch-all for the tiny islands of the Caribbean. Now, mind you, for those that are in the States, or that Grenada is about the size of a very, like, Monterey, California. There's 60,000 people that live on this entire there's 3 islands that compose Grenada. And it's small. It's like so small that you're walking down the street and, the bus driver stops in the middle of the road to have a conversation for 20 minutes and nobody cares because everyone's in the conversation. And that's what it is. And asylum, so then my process was speaking to the UNHCR, and they took my call, and within 5 minutes the guy was like, we don't give asylum on domestic violence. We don't do that. We don't grant asylum, and we do this, but okay. And so the systems here have got to change, because in the same way that it's not safe for women, what perpetuates that is the lack of awareness and access we have to safety. Why isn't domestic violence covered, or a streamlined process to getting asylum? Why? This is gender inequity at its best. It is dangerous for me to return to my home country. I'm going to be thrown into prison, and my son is never going to see his mother again. That is the same, if not worse, than the other 5,000 reasons why you've granted asylum to somebody else.
Practically putting you in the position, it is putting you in the position of being a political dissident, and on the basis is being a woman and saying, I have the right not to be abused, and my child has the right to live a life without being abused. And that is making you practically, criminalized for holding that set of beliefs. So you are kind of a political refugee. I believe so. But in Europe, we've got a law called the Istanbul Convention, which is on, it's about, violence, gender-based violence. And it's got two articles which explicitly say that signatories to the Istanbul Convention must provide asylum to women who are fleeing gender-based violence. These conventions, these international conventions, currently are not worth the paper they're written on.
Right. I agree with you. And the lack of access just today, and I wanted to address one of the questions that said, what has been prepared for the upcoming court date? I wish I knew. I don't have legal counsel, and there is on Google, there is a legal aid in Grenada, but there's nobody at those offices and nobody that answers the phone and nobody's that returned an email. There's an e-filing system I go to that website, and you can't litigate here in Grenada. So if I don't have legal counsel, what exactly am I supposed to do? Beyond the judicial information and knowledge that I just have, just based on being and doing this for a long time. So many of us are so well read and well researched, and we know the laws and we know the processes. I can't even file an application to ask for an extension because I don't know how to do that, and nobody can tell me how to do that, and the registrar can't give legal information, and legal aid doesn't exist here, and no one gives a fuck because I'm not a citizen here, and nobody wants to touch my case because I'm a fugitive on the run with my child. And so again, the lack of access, I don't know what's prepared. I do know that initially what was filed was, we're filing for the child and the mother to stay in Grenada. And then once that happens, I want the child returned to me, who is the father. And the court date got pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And we finally went to court May 18th. And that is not at all what was addressed in that court date. That court hearing was, this woman has withheld access and we're getting access, and the court case is still going on in the United States. And so we need you, Grenada, to decide whether this child is going to live here with his mom while the proceedings in the USA are happening, or if he's going to go back with dad. What's interesting though is, one, there's no proceedings in the United States. I'm not going back there. So we're not having any proceedings. They've been on pause. They've been on hold. That's that. I can't go back there because there's a warrant for my arrest. So that's putting my own self in jeopardy. None of these things that were brought up during this hearing to say, well, unfortunately, mom can't go back to the States because it would be a violation of her X, Y, and Z. The child lives here. It's his habitual residence. It would be all the reasons. None of that was brought up. So we went to court for one reason, and then we left with the judge giving us a pep talk about how we need to get along and figure out how to parent the child together. And I was like, I'm in the twilight zone. Where am I? What have I just prepared for the last 9 months with my lawyer, who I spent $18,000 a retainer for? What? For her to just sit there and sit on her hands, which is what she did, and no objections and no nothing, and then turned around and looked at me and said, well, this is the kid's father. Which, if you've ever been, which I know all of you have been, like, you can't, to trauma, shame, blame, and try to reason with someone that's been abused and victimized, like, you can't do it. That brought up so much for me, I thought I was going to pass out. And that was that. And when we left, it was, we'll see you back on June 13th, and we're going to make that determination. And so now I've had all of this time that could have been with lawyers guiding me, filing for me, fighting for me, like, whoa, you cannot do this. We cannot be having this. Yesterday, a filing came through from the judge in Texas, a letter to the judge here saying, we are in the midst of proceedings in the USA and we cannot continue until the child is delivered back to the USA, which, one, is not true. And two, I have yet to hear or see or read of any family law code or anything that says the child needs to be in the actual state while the custody is being determined, specifically as it would completely upset his life and his settlement and all of those kind of things. But the fact that this was the same judge that didn't like me and scolded me and fired my son's therapist and doctors for testifying, this was the same judge that fined me $10,000 for writing her a letter pleading to her maternal instinct, who wrote a letter to a judge in another country saying X, Y, and Z, something that isn't true. But I cannot fight this. Nobody will listen. There is no law firm that will represent me. I don't know what to do. I'm desperate. I've gone every legal avenue. I've searched illegal avenues, and none of them are coming up for me. I don't know what to do. Getting off of an island, and if you're watching this and you're a mom that wants to run, do not run to an island. You cannot get the fuck off of this island. You can't get off of an island. And so many women are telling me, can't you just get a jet ski, go to the beach, get a jet ski and go. And this is not a Miami to Cuba situation. This is insane Atlantic Caribbean waters during hurricane season. The next island is a 9-hour sail away. There are pirates and drug dealers close to, the eastern pirate Venezuela waters are dangerous. And this is trying to hop on a boat is human trafficking, and nobody wants to risk that. I mean, it's major. So hopping a boat and getting off of the island is not easy, and not as easy as one would think. Flying is out of the question, as my son's passport is being illegally withheld. I'm a blonde white woman with sleeve tattoos with a little blonde child in a Caribbean nation. So fitting in is not our strong suit either here. And we've made this place our home. So I teach yoga, and was on the board of directors for a few different community advocacy programs. My son is a surfer, skateboarder. We are not hidden people here, and even if we tried, we couldn't. And so, like I said, I'm on my 4th day of not sleeping and trying to just figure out what to do. Figure out a way to not go to court on the 13th, or figure out a way to get out if it doesn't go my way, or figure out a way to get it to go my way, or, I don't know. I just know that my son I just know that even kids that are abused love their parents. There are kids that are abused that will still say, but I still love my dad, or I still love my mother, or why are they mean to me? Why are they this? In a case like mine, that is not the case. This man never had a relationship to start with his son, and his son only knows him as being a monster. My 9-year-old son will talk about his father and say, I hate him. I want to, if I could, I would take a knife and I would stab him so he would never hurt us again. And again, this is a boy that has kittens on his mouse pad. Okay, this is like a very gentle, kind, loving boy who talks like this, and he gets nervous. And when we see like a overweight American walking around, my son squeezes my hand if he thinks somebody is here for him, or senses that it's him, or senses that, and this is this is so heavy and it's so scary. And every time a dog barks, every time a door creaks, I know that you guys know this, like you are in complete fight or flight shock all the time. But in those 12 hours a day that your child is awake, you have to be on. You have to be, you know, it was my son's birthday yesterday. And it's just got a shelf, put everything else on a shelf. And today it's just magic. Nothing is wrong. We're just going to have some magic. And then the nighttime comes and it's like a waterfall. The floodgates are open of the panic, of the this, of the that. And your body and your brain can do that for a little bit of time, but it can't do this forever. I can't do this. I can't do this forever. I know I can't. I know I can't.
You know what, Ray? I was going to say, it does really feel like there's nothing you can actually do at this point. And I think that if you can try and ease off on yourself a little bit and give your body and the mind at least a little break. I know it's almost impossible because you're under such huge time pressure, but I'm just worried it's just sort of maybe making it so much worse by being in a, you know, such an exhausted state. If you can try and ease up on yourself, and you've got lots of people who've got your back and are fighting for you, and let's all pray for a miracle. Let's pray for a judge who actually cares about human beings. There are judges who do that, or who might just say, what is this guy doing here? You know, this is Grenada, you know, it's nothing to do with us. You know, America, you know. I don't know. I mean, this is mad, but try. I mean, the awful thing is they're forcing people into this position where it's kill, be killed, flee, go into hiding. What is the point of a system like that?
Right. And by the way, someone commented surrender, and I'm just telling you right now, it's not happening, and that's not a helpful comment. So sending that with so much, I'm not even sending it with love, because that's just like a not a helpful comment. So that's fine.
I ask my children at every point, would you like that we give up now? And you would have to go back to dad's. No. No way.
And I've said this a million times. I am so close to my own father. I was raised by my father. My mother is a badass bitch, and she was out working out of the house. My dad was a stay-at-home dad, and we are so close. If at any time, my kid said, you know what, Mom, I kind of like miss our old life, or I kind of just want to like see my dad, I'd be like, okay, let's figure out a way. But guess what? That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. But even beyond my own, everything that I've been through, if that's what he wanted and we could do it safely, I would do it. Because as his mother, I am called to protect and nurture him. But and to listen and respect him. And if those are the things that he wants, I will make those things happen. But guess what? My job is to listen to him. And when my child, and if you've watched any of my videos that have been posted today, you will see that my child is begging and screaming, please don't make me go. Please no, make him stop, make him stop. That's not one time, that's not two times. This is several times, every single time. And for 14 months, I have not had to do that or hear that. I get to know that my baby is safe. I get to wake up in the morning and I don't have to tell him how many days until he goes back, how many days until this, what's the court date now, what's this, what's that. So the legal systems, the systems aren't working. And you know what? There is no system that can rule higher than the primal heart. I wish you could see my arm. I have a mama bear and a baby bear tattooed inside my bicep because that's where we flex our muscles, right? Our bicep. And there is mama bear and there is baby bear. And there is no higher court than the court of the body that birthed you. There is no higher court. So I won't surrender. I will die protecting my bear cub. All of us will. There is no higher court than the mama bear.
They have degraded motherhood so badly. And, in a way, maybe it's our fault, maybe as women, we haven't been defending motherhood as we should. But also men, good men. I think it's really time, because we get told when we come into court and we're dealing with, situations of abuse, and we get told, oh, well, but he's the father and he's got an equal right. And we're just like, I think, we have to start challenging this very strongly and fighting back. What you're saying, we gave birth to these children. We carried them in our bodies and we grew these human beings, using our bodies. And for somebody to come along and think they can take them is committing theft. Mm-hmm. They are stealing. They're committing the criminal offense of stealing. And,
I've seen it posted before. I think it's interesting where they talk about, life begins with the mother, and mothers are magical and we are celebrated and we are the creators of everything until we disclose abuse, until we fight back, until we say something. And then we are punished. We are liars. We are hysterical.
Crazy.
We are emotional. We're crazy. We're this, we're that, we're this, we're that. At this point, I'm like, guess what? I am crazy. Yes, I am. You're right. You're absolutely right. I am hysterical. I am crazy. I have lost my mind because that is exactly what a bear in the wild would do. Watch the fucking Discovery Channel for 4 minutes. Walk up to a little bear cub in the woods and tell me that your ass isn't ripped to shreds by a hysterical, crazy mama bear. Same thing over here. No difference. Same thing. Tell me, come for my baby and tell me how I'm supposed to act. But you want me to be level-headed and calm and wear my hair back and cover my tattoos and say, yes, ma'am, for fear of what? For fear of what? That somebody might say, whoa, she's mad, she's this, she's that. Guess what? A hysterical, protective mother is not unsafe. A hysterical father who shoved my baby boy into the side of his Ford 150 truck, into the side door jamb because he was walking too slow, and has a bruise on the side of his body that was the size of a huge ass softball? Or a hysterical, protective mother? Who is he safer with? Tell me.
Easy.
Honestly, sorry, Nat.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, the people who are making these decisions are sadistic. Either that or very, very stupid.
Narcissists enabling narcissists. They're running the government. They're running everything. It's insane. I just wanted to say really quick, sorry. Everybody who is on here right now, if you can message me and then I can message you a template of an email for the Prime Minister of Grenada that we want as many people as possible to email him, and it's literally all written out. All you have to do at the bottom is sign your name, add a subject title, and send it off. It takes 2 minutes. So if everybody who is on here can message me so that I can message you after the live, and we'll get as many people as possible to email the Prime Minister in Grenada and see what we can do to help Rae.
And I would be so thankful because even if it's just, this is a time crunch. I keep saying I have 9 days. I've got 9 days to figure this out. And even if it's just all of a sudden, what the hell? Why did I just get 50 emails in my inbox today? What is this? It forces them to listen, to look. I have no lawyer will take me right now. Nobody. Whether I email them with a one-liner or a 10-pager, there's no one right now that has the capacity to take this on. So, this today, kind of this attention is intentional to just kind of get someone here listening. Okay, this is dire. This needs attention. This needs, maybe we didn't think it was that important, but it's important. Or maybe a lawyer will see it and say, I'm going to represent her. Or I don't know, but I do know that the choices that I had in the States, the research that I did to leave, all I needed was the ruling, the last little bit, and then I could say, you know what? Okay, we're out of here. I'm going to get us safe. We're doing it. Unfortunately, here, I don't have that option. I have the option of Grenada needs to save us. That's it. That's my only option. If they don't, then there's no options. There's no options. I run for what? 1 week? One more week until they find me, and then I'm in big trouble. And then I'm in big trouble.
You know what? When I went to Switzerland, I thought, and lots of other people thought, well, we know what the UK is like. We know that the European Union has got serious problems in most of its member states. We didn't know about Switzerland, and we thought, well, maybe things are a bit better in Switzerland. And actually, it turns out that they've got a good law about the Hague Convention. They've recognised that it's got shortcomings, and they've made their own law. They wanted to change the convention. Guess what? The judges are not applying it the way it's supposed to be. And then afterwards, somebody said, well, you went to the wrong country, because Switzerland is one of the major child trafficking destinations in Europe.
Right.
The question with Grenada is Grenada a good country? Are Grenadian people good people? Is the government of Grenada prepared to say, we will stand up for a mother and her child? It's not a lot to ask. We are a sovereign state. We do have our own laws, and we don't accept another state interfering in our affairs. This child's welfare is the thing, somebody commented, should be paramount. That's what the international law says. Yes, international law does say the child needs both parents, but it also says that the child's safety and well-being come before everything else.
Even parental rights, specific to, because in the USA, and I think actually, Nat, you might have sent me this, but in the States, parental rights come before anything. Here, specifically, there is a clause in one of the family codes, something or others, that says the safety of the child is paramount, even over parental rights. And to answer your question, Grenada is heaven. Grenadian people are so amazing. Oh my gosh. First of all, everyone needs to go see The Little Mermaid, the new one. And I only say that because you want to know Caribbean people? That's the Caribbean. That was based in the Caribbean, and that's Caribbean. People are gentle and kind, and people always ask me, what do you love about Grenada the most? And they might expect me to say the perfect beaches, the amazing food, the rum punch, whatever. No, it's how much this island loves my boy. We will walk down the street and just random kids will go, hey, small man. And my son will think he's the coolest guy in the world because some kid just said hi to him. Or, we have a car now, but we rode the bus for a really long time. And there are bus drivers a year later that will still honk their horn. Deuce, yo, just driving by. In my this little white boy that so many people just love and adore. I went to the pharmacy the other day and my mom was in town, so my son stayed with her. I walk into the pharmacy, no hello, no nothing. Where's my boy? Where's my boy? The woman at the front says, where's my boy? This island loves children. There are billboards everywhere about report child abuse. The welfare of the child comes first all the time, and I believe it. Two of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life are from here. I've met them here. They are some of the most incredible, amazing women that are... I've never met women like this before. There's a difference between kind of these, you know, us sometimes Western American fragile women, right? It's hard to be friends with women. We've got issues, we've got dramas, we've got stuff. And the women that I've met here that are Grenadian are just a totally different vibe. And the people here are incredible, and they will walk to the ends of the earth to help you. I have not seen that translated, though, into the judicial system. And like you said, Nat, that it doesn't seem like it should be a very hard feat for the courts of Grenada to say, we have this woman here, we have this child here. She chose us specifically due to the nature of our laws as a sovereign state. We must apply these laws to her and her child as if she was Grenadian. And that's what needs to happen. And that's what is not happening. Not yet.
You know what? They're probably under immense pressure from
Sure.
an enormous, powerful country like the United States. But if I may say one thing, all of this that's happening is something which has been manufactured in the United States. It's affecting American women probably worse than any other country in the world, because it was a system designed in the United States by the AFCC, the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts in California, rolled out across America, rolled out across the English-speaking world and beyond. And now it's practically got the whole world in its grip. And guess what, America? We don't appreciate it in the rest of the world. And if this is the kind of democracy that you're exporting, you can keep it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to ask us to fight wars to cover your ass because of this kind of totalitarianism that you're imposing on the entire world under the cover of democracy, it's not a democracy. And we're not going to support you. We're starting to see through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I'm out. I'm gonna go to sleep and get some rest. This took a lot out of me. I'm so thankful, you guys, really. So I feel immensely supported. And I hope that anyone, anywhere, in any phase of life has a group that they can call on like this when you're just at your lowest. And I just really thank you, girls, for being my friends, and thank you, Natalie, for hosting this tonight. I really, really appreciate it. And I just know that the struggles that all of us are going through, like, there is a reason. There's a reason for the struggle. There's a reason for the fight. There is change coming. There is no way we are raising children that are going to be anything less than brave warriors for women and change.
They know it. They do.
Yeah,
and they will be different when they grow up. Yeah,
they will.
absolutely.
I know. I believe it.
Just always remember what we're
A good
doing.
therapeutic, cathartic cry, and that you will sleep like a baby.
Yeah, I don't think I've cried like this in months. So thank you for the opportunity to just listen to me, and I will when when I first met you guys and came to this group and shared my story, everyone said, oh my gosh, what the fuck? Like, wow, you're safe here. We believe you. We're here for you. Not one person ever asked for anything. Not proof, not this, not that. Never gave me an unbiased opinion. Never said, well, have you tried this? And I just want to put it out there that that is the only way to support somebody in duress, in stress, in trauma. There is the only way to support them is to say, I believe you and I'm on your team, and that's all I need to know. And when you can
What are
show
we gonna
up
do?
in that way, it really does heal. And so to be reading these comments tonight with support and people saying like, yeah, girl, wow, and like, oh my gosh, that's so terrifying and that's so sad, instead of, well, what does your lawyer say? Or I wouldn't do that. Or, oh my gosh, you're this and that. It really is healing. So thank you. And if you are somebody that knows somebody else like me, like Natalia, like Natalie in this situation, you need to show up. You need to ride or die. You need to believe them and you need to help them. That's it. And that's the way that you can help heal us that are on the front lines, that are doing this, so we can continue our work.
Yeah.
Okay, good night. Thank you so much.
I
Good
love
night,
you
you
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
I hope you
I
get
feel
some
it.
rest.
Thank
Hugs
you.
and love and kisses.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.
Love you. Good night. Oh my God.
That was some
I'm like,
serious emotions there.
oh my God. It's just, it's so much. And I remember feeling exactly like that, like right before my trial, and just thinking like my kids are literally about to be taken. And I know you know how it feels. Your kids were taken.
And you know
And
what?
it's
It's
like,
happened to me 3 times. First time, my children were originally taken from the United Kingdom, taken to Croatia. There is one reason and one reason only why the court did not uphold its initial decision to send them back to me in the United Kingdom, and it's one word: corruption. And I tried to rescue my children from this corruption twice, and we've been let down. Oh, it's not just corruption, it is abuse. And I'm really, really sorry, I forgot what we were talking
it
about.
literally happens to me
Yeah.
25 times in an hour, so I completely
Yeah.
get it. No, I
Mm.
know. It's like the corruption, it's just people come to you and they're like, but what do you mean? Like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do that? And you're like, I've literally done everything. It's corrupt. It doesn't matter what you do, because no matter what you do, the outcome's going to be whatever narrative they've already painted in their head that makes them the most money. So it doesn't matter what you've done. Well, it does, because you always keep fighting, but really in the end it doesn't matter, because you do everything that's right. You do everything to protect your children. And like we were saying earlier, it's like you're damned if you do, you damned if you don't. You get punished if you don't fight for your kids. And then if you fight for your kids, you're crazy and you're insane. You get your kids taken off you and then sent to the abuser to live with them full time, and then you have no contact. It's like, what the fuck is going on? It's insane.
I'm thinking that maybe we should sort of mention the Hague Mothers Project.
You go for it, girl. Yes.
Yeah, so in July we'll be having a workshop. I don't know exactly too much about what the content will be, but I do know that there will be a promo film coming, which I recorded the narrative for it a couple of weeks ago. So that will be on the 7th of July. I think that will be being sort of premiered, and it will be an awareness raising campaign, which is going to be appealing directly, I think, to the Secretariat of the Hague Convention. So I'm not quite sure what the Hague Mothers group are doing. Basically, Hague Mothers, it's a project which is being run by a UK feminist charity called Filia. And they've managed to gather an amazing team from the UK, the US, and Australia of different of lawyers and other kinds of professionals, as well as mothers, to try to tackle the Hague problem and find ways through it. So they have got a number of proposals at the moment, which they're calling like a sort of position paper, I think, for how, the courts can be better protecting mothers. So basically, one of them is saying, well, if it's a domestic abuse case, the presumption is you do not return the child, which would seem logical. Yeah. But there's a number of other things. So that is a piece of work that's ongoing, and it does feel like they're trying to, make that take shape as quickly as possible, because, literally with every day that's passing, there are mothers and children who are in the position that Rae is, and I feel for her so badly, that sense of desperation, because there is no good step that you can take. Every outcome is bad, and it leads you to feel so desperate, because it is your child's life and health and safety and welfare and future that's at stake. You're not going to give up on that easily. And so it's absolutely desperate. So I just
I think that's what they feed off of, really, because they know that the mother is never going to stop fighting for the child. So they're going to have all those years up until they turn 18 to just make money off them constantly. It's sick. It's literally the most disgusting thing. I didn't have any idea about any of this stuff before I went through the Hague. And it's like, it's
transparency, the lack of transparency is not our friend, because it means that a sort of very good, well-worded letter to the Times newspaper in the United Kingdom this morning, written by a former judge, I think it was, who was basically saying transparency is only helping the people who want to cover up, wrongdoing.
yeah.
So we need transparency, and lots of people are talking about training. But if there's no accountability for the judges, if they're making the wrong call, and in some, of many of these cases, it's so wrong.
It's so blatant. It's like so obvious, and you're just like, how are you getting away with this? Like even in like Narcissist's case, how is this still happening?
Yeah.
Like, it's mind
This is my
blowing.
comeback. Literally, I mean, in my case in the United Kingdom, the first time I tried to run away, our trial was heard by an Uber judge. I say Uber because it was like Uber car. Yeah. So what happens is, I don't know if you've got the same thing in the United States. It's probably got even worse than it is in the United Kingdom right now. So they have full-time judges, and they have attorneys, barristers they're called in the United Kingdom, who they call in to preside over cases, and they pay them on a day basis.
Oh, like a magistrate judge?
A magistrate is different. A magistrate is
okay.
is a lay person.
I'm not good at this.
Yeah. It's a bit complicated in the US.
Yeah.
So basically, this barrister got paid £1,000 to hear our case. Yeah.
To be a judge for the day?
To be a judge for the day.
Like
That's
a rent a cop, rent a judge.
Rent a judge, exactly. And it's good money,
Oh,
and of course, he's going to
on.
try and get the case done and dusted in a day, because then he doesn't have to give up more of his time that he could be giving, sort of earning barrister's fees. And if he makes a bad decision, guess what? Guess how much I can do about it? Diddly squat. Well, I'm going to do my best. I tried to sue him. He didn't like that. And he wrote to me, a judge owes no duty of care to litigants.
Say that last part?
A judge owes no duty of care to litigants. Well, that's quite something, but there are children involved in this case. What about the children, first of all? And I can't remember. There's some other phrase about saying that I think that he cannot be sued while um,
While
performing
he's on
his.
the stand, like
Yeah.
while he's a judge, because you can't sue a judge, right?
Well, I know in the United States that there are some cases where people are managing to sue them.
Really? Yeah, because I know
Mm.
I've heard, I'm so new at all of this, like
Yeah.
court stuff, but I
Mm.
did hear something like you can't sue a judge, or you can't like, I don't know, something like that, but
Mm.
maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea.
Yeah. But the appeals process it's not fit for purpose at all. Certainly the UK, the US, I don't know. And I'm really sorry that Maureen didn't manage to make it onto the call because I would have loved
So
to.
I know, and you know what I think that
Mm.
it was is because I think you might have to have like a certain, like maybe if you have a business TikTok, then you can like automatically be on live,
Mm.
or you need like a certain amount of followers, or you need like a certain amount of something to be able
Mm.
to go live. So I think
Mm.
that you and Ray, because Ray I think does like videos and stuff, and you have your family courts crisis. So maybe that's why the both of you were, but I can't even hi guys, Maureen, if you're there, I'm so sorry. And Sarah, like I can't, it doesn't even let me, like I have a list of guests that I'm allowed to invite, and it just doesn't give me an option for anybody else except for those people. So it must be just you have to qualify for it or something. So maybe next time I'll look into, I've never been live on Instagram, but maybe we can try Instagram next time. And um oh, Maureen, hi. Yeah, maybe if you can just automatically go on there and go on live, and then we can do it that way, and then me and you can talk about Narcissus case and everything that's going on with Bradley or ooh, the child at the
Yeah.
moment, sorry. um and yeah, because it's getting like crunch time for that as well, and it's getting very scary, so we should definitely come up with a time that we can do that.
Yeah. There's a thing that just astonishes me with that one is how can Narcisse have fought all the way up to the Supreme Court and won only to be faced with a nightmare again at the lower court level.
It's the judge is so corrupt. And Donnelly,
Mm.
fucking, like, what is wrong with this lady? She's insane. It's like the
Mm.
amount of evidence that she has, and every time she's like, ah, no, he'll be fine. Like, send him off, send him off, send him off. And you're just like, no, but look, he did this, 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 and this. Hey, look, he beat her when she was pregnant. Hey, look, he smashed her face. It's in Supreme Court documents that he literally said in court. He smashed her face. Like, oh, I don't care.
And
Send her
there's
back.
another
Like, he'll be
thing.
fine. It was to the mother, it
Mm.
wasn't to him. So he'll be
Mm.
fine. And now that the mother's not there, there's no risk anymore. And you're just like, what
Mm.
the hell? Like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
Literally, it makes no sense.
No, no, it really
The
is.
craziest thing is has children. Yeah, probably because she's like a
Mm.
psychotic narcissist. And then her poor children. Like, I would love to see how healthy these children are, or
Yeah.
how neglected they probably are.
Mm. Yeah. It's really, really shocking.
It really
Yeah.
is. It's nuts.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
But um oh, it says, great job. You've been live for 90 minutes. Oh my God, we've been on for 90 minutes.
It's kind of the early hours of the morning here, so I think I'd better drop off because
Yeah, you must be exhausted.
I'm okay. I'm okay. But, it was really good to talk and yeah.
Well, maybe, and as well, like if I'm trying to do this live, I'll do it every day. Like I come on here usually by myself, and I'm just like talking crap about narcissists. So anytime that you want to come on again, like in more normal hours for you, and we can talk a bit more about your case and raise awareness for it, share some links, whatever we got to do, because
Yeah.
obviously you're in the
Mm.
aftermath of the hell right
Yeah.
now. So anything that
Yeah.
I can do to help
I'm a little bit
ease
trying to find
those.
my balance and thinking, okay, what are we going to do now? And I'm really curious. This month, we will have the UN Special Rapporteur for Violence Against Women taking her report that she published in May, sorry, to the UN Human Rights Council about the child custody cases. And she does talk about the Hague Convention in that report. So fingers crossed, it might bring us a little bit of at least leverage. It's nothing
What
binding.
date is that on again?
I think it starts on the 14th and I think it goes on for about 2 weeks, a sort of
Oh,
like
okay.
session, the Human Rights Council is meeting over that period. And I
Thank
don't know
God.
what day it is that she's going to be, sort of discussing this, but that we have a wonderful ally there in her. She's unusually active, proactive, muscular as a UN, sort of representative, what do they call them, special procedures experts. So a
Yeah.
little bit of luck, and maybe we can find some other allies in the UN, like the Special Rapporteur against Torture. The previous one, a Swiss professor called Nils Meltzer, he actually defined being in the position of being suffering from domestic abuse and not being able to escape it, and also being secondarily victimized by the authorities. He defined it as torture.
Yes, I heard that. I think I probably maybe you shared that on the group because
Mm,
I think I read something about that because I said that to someone today. I was like, it's literally torture, and I completely resonate with that because I feel like I was tortured for 10 years.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we have a new person. She's Australian who's come into that role now. I forget the name. I think something like Alice Edwards or something, Professor Alice Edwards. So got to sort of maybe check in and see with that a little bit. But fingers crossed, and we just have to keep going, and try.
Yes.
I saw something the other day about it's good to, don't just tear sin systems down. Suggest some, what do you think that it should be replaced with? Don't just point out problems. Come up with solutions, and we keep on doing it. Keep on advocating. This can't go on. It's too much of a serious, strong violation of human morality. It's
And the thing is, it happens to so many people, and we're spread everywhere, all around the world. It's like we need to come up with a way for all of us to get somehow and fight the shit out of this because there's so many. We outnumber them by millions,
mm,
probably, I would think, right, throughout the world. And it's just like, how do we all come together to change this? It's so overwhelming. It's so crazy. It's just so insane to me that these people get away with it.
yeah, yeah. Mm, 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 mm.
But
It was
thank you
so
so
lovely
much for
to
coming
see
on.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, you too. It was so
because we
nice to
have,
talk to you.
yeah, we have met each other in person at Phileas, and so it's lovely to catch up again. And I'm so glad that you are a Hague mother who won her case and protected her children. And thank you so much for
Thank
carrying
you.
on fighting for the rest of us.
Oh, this is
Mm,
like they say like what you go through makes you stronger. It's like this is my purpose in life now. Like I'm not doing anything else and I'm not planning on it. So anything that I can do to help. I know it's not, I don't have the biggest platform, but hopefully it will get bigger and we will take over the whole damn world and change it for the better, I hope. And thank you for everything that you do and all the videos and being so transparent online. You post videos about your entire story. Everybody on here, if you, sorry, I'm like inhaling my hair. Um, um, follow Natalie and her story. It's absolutely insane and so heartbreaking, and she's been through the absolute ringer. So she has a bunch of videos about, like real time, like going through it, and when her kids were taken from her not that long ago. It was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just 2 months ago. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, 2 months ago. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's just horrific. So we just need to keep being loud about it to make sure that this stops happening because I feel like it's every day. It's like I wake up and there's another tragedy
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but thank you for coming on with me and Ray. And again, everybody that's in the on the live right now, if you can send me a message if you haven't already, so I can send you a template of the email to send to the Prime Minister in Grenada. I have it all laid out. All you have to do, literally copy and paste it on your email, sign your name at the bottom, like type your name out, and then just put a little subject in there that's going to catch his eye, help the protective mother, save her life, save Ray. Um, and yeah, just like let's try to flood his email so he wakes up in the morning to hundreds of emails, hopefully. Because, like, when you see one and it just gets drowned out with all the rest of them, if he sees 100, even 50 of the same email, he's going to be like, okay, I have to look at this.
Hopefully he's
So,
a good man, and hopefully Grenada can be an example, can it'll be a leader in this.
yes,
Let's pray. Mm.
that'd be so awesome. Like, she deserves it. She's been through hell. You could hear it in her voice. And I think that's why I didn't really speak most of the time. I was just like, I could just feel her pain. It's the most horrifying thing that I have ever been through, and I know that you've ever been through, and that she is currently going through. And I just remember just the desperation. It gives me chills. I'm just like, so anything that we can do to help Ray, we need to do that. And your guys' help would be very helpful. And thank you for watching, and thank you for being here. And yeah, I might
Thank you,
stay on for a
everybody,
little bit
for
after you go
listening.
and just see if anybody has questions.
Okay, thank you for commenting. Thank you for caring. It's really important to us. We need
Yes,
to get the word out there, don't we? Take
we sure do.
care.
All
All
right,
right,
thank you,
speak soon.
Natalie.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
How do I leave?
You're like, help, get me out of here.
Yes, yes, it worked out. See you. Bye bye.
Okay, okay. I'm so sorry. I haven't been able to really keep up with the messages, but I think that some of the moderators might have been able to. But yeah, if anybody has any questions at all about how they can help Ray and help Natalie, help Maureen with Narcissist and her son that they're currently fighting to keep into the country and not be sent off to Italy. Like, there's so many mothers right now that are just going through it and need our help. So anybody who's interested in helping, please message me privately, and we'll be very grateful, because we just need to start being loud, because if we don't do anything, they're not going to do anything, and they're just going to keep being corrupt. But if they know we're watching. It's very simple, guys. A simple way to help Ray. Please take the time to do it. Yes, Maureen, you're very right. It doesn't even, I'd say it takes 2 minutes. It probably doesn't even take 2 minutes. Copy and paste, send, bam. Bob's your uncle. But it's just such a simple thing to help. It could change her life. Like, literally, even just if one person does it, you don't know how many other people will as well. And we're sharing it all over the place. So hopefully everybody will. I definitely will be DMing you. Thank you, Sabrina. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. And if you can, share it with as many people as possible. And if any of you don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook, find me on there, because I have a whole big post explaining her whole entire situation. I couldn't really put the whole story on TikTok because it like has a character limit. So, but like on Instagram and Facebook, I have the same name on there. and it has all the information on there, and you can share it on there, and that would be very helpful as well. But yeah, if anybody has any other questions, I'll probably be on for another couple minutes. Yeah, I have Facebook. It's Narcissist Free Natalie on there too. I will. My friend Blaine will definitely do it because he's so close friend and knows my own story. Good. That's awesome. Well, good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's like you never know if one share is going to turn into 1,000 shares. Like the right person sees it and then it'll blow up. Hopefully. About my bio father and my son's biological father. Yeah, that sounds like me. I married my father, technically. Not technically, but you know what I mean. Someone just like my father. Kind of. It's complicated. Hi, Claudia. Are you sleeping? Claudia, I seen that you gave me a rose. Thank you. I still don't even know how to like look at these things. I really got to figure it out. Okay, I think that everyone has asked everything they needed. If you need anything else, just private message me. Again, I have TikTok, I have Instagram, I have Facebook, so whatever's easiest. I'm mostly on all of them, so whatever, it doesn't matter. I was going to send some nachos, but I didn't think it was appropriate time. What the fuck? Nachos. Ooh, what does that mean? What is it? Oh my god, is there a way to make that actual nachos in my face right now? Because I'm starving. Well, thanks for the nachos. That's so cute, I love that. I love getting presents on here. It's like my birthday all over again. Anyway, oh my god, I love nachos. Yeah, dude, I would like kill for some freaking nachos right now. Like, stop talking about it because I'm about to go down the street and get some nachos. But okay, I'm gonna go. And thank you for everyone for being here. Love you all. And please send, share, like, do all of the things. Comment. Comments helps the algorithm. The likes and the shares, everything. So whatever you can do, just go on the video on my TikTok page as well that I posted earlier about Rae. It explains her story. It's part 1 of her story. And then also as well on Instagram and Facebook, I have part 1 and 2 of her stories on there, so you can learn a little bit more about what's happening right now with her. And like, share, comment, all of the things so that more people can see it. I'd be very grateful. I love you, Maureen. Love you so much. You guys are so awesome, and I'm so happy that we got to do this tonight. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm gonna go. I'm losing my voice.